This is a special report from Iowa Public Television.
Major funding for this program was provided by Friends of Iowa Public Television.
The U.S. Census Bureau says Iowa is losing population this decade faster than any other state. The farm economy continues to deteriorate, and Main Street, Iowa feels the pinch. Such are the problems facing the state of Iowa this year. This morning, Governor Terry Branstad gave his report on the condition of the state.
The governor's Condition of the State address, taped earlier today before a joint session of the Iowa General Assembly in Des Moines. Here is Dean Board.
Good evening. Today, Governor Terry Branstad delivered his fourth Condition of the State message before a joint House-Senate session of the Iowa General Assembly. The speech wasn't particularly lengthy. The governor touched on the state's population loss, its water quality problems, and a need for a greater effort in the areas of education and economic development. And he also unveiled an ambitious transportation program.
Mr. President, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Chief Justice, justices and judges, state officials, senators and representatives, distinguished guests, and friends. Before I begin this speech, I want to congratulate you that have been chosen by the people of this great state to serve as their elected representatives and senators in this 72nd Iowa General Assembly. And I want to congratulate those that have been selected as leaders, especially the Speaker of the House, Don Avison, who was just chosen for an unprecedented third consecutive term as Speaker of the House. Don, contrary to what you may have heard, I think you're all right. Now, some of you may think it had been a hot day in January before I'd compliment Don Avison. This State of the State speech is the first of three speeches that I will give to the people of Iowa over the next 2 weeks. I will also on Friday present the inaugural address, and next week the budget message. In addition to reporting on the condition of the state today, I will concentrate on economic development, agriculture, and the environment. On Friday, the inaugural address will center on education. And next week, in the budget message, I will spell out my program for tax reform, welfare reform, aid to the elderly, and other priorities. Today, we look at where we are, where we've been, and where we want to go. After witnessing the boom of the 70s, we felt the bust of the 80s. For many of us, it's been a time of great stress, a time of dramatic change. Now, we can't ignore the facts. In this decade, we've lost farms, banks, businesses, and people. But those grim statistics represent the past. They don't reflect the future. Let us resolve today that the worst is behind us, and in our future lies opportunity. Yes, the trials of the economy will continue, but the big drop in asset values is already behind us. We Iowans have had to adjust. We've learned to focus on our strengths, both as individuals and as a state, and we're better because of it. Many Iowans are rediscovering the pioneer spirit of our ancestors. Iowans are coping with the new realities of today and preparing for tomorrow. The pioneer spirit can be seen in places like Guthrie Center. In that county seat town, area farmers and other residents are earning additional income for their families by assembling automotive parts as independent contractors. For a farmer like Dennis Menifee, that is an opportunity to provide a means to maintain the family farm for his children and grandchildren. Dennis Menifee is like a lot of Iowans who've weathered the difficulties of the 80s. Like thousands of people all across this state, Dennis has had the courage and the determination to meet the realities of today while preparing for tomorrow. The 1980s are not the first time that Iowans have had to face hard times. A half century ago, Iowans were facing the Great Depression. It was a time of extreme low farm prices, high unemployment, and extraordinary levels of bankruptcy. Yet the people of Iowa refused to give up. In 1939, after years of economic depression and devastating drought, Governor George Wilson reminded Iowans that the story of Iowa is that of transforming a wilderness of hidden wealth into a commonwealth of fascinating beauty, teeming with the honorable activities of an industrious people. It is an epic, adorned with all that makes life worthwhile. What Governor Wilson said about Iowa 48 years ago is true today. We faced the hard times, and we're emerging ever stronger, dedicated to building a stronger and brighter future. In 1986, we Iowans accomplished some remarkable things. Think of Bob and Ruth Keel from Dubuque. They transported over 250,000 tourists up and down the Mississippi River in their riverboats, and they went on to be named the National Small Business People of the Year. Also last year, Nam Starozelski, who immigrated from the Soviet Union to Des Moines, Iowa 11 years ago, was honored as the American Small Business Innovator of the Year. Another Iowan, Kevin Eblin from Creston, was chosen by his peers to be the national president of the Future Farmers of America. Other Iowa success stories include Marge and Jack Haley. Jack Haley retired from the military a few years back, and the Haleys moved from Virginia to Waterloo, Iowa to start a small business. That was just a few years ago. Today, they're operating the most innovative railroad in the country from a headquarters in Waterloo. Another Iowan, Peter Owenson, a Webster County farmer, made a difference in 1986. After watching a television news story about the troubles facing farmers in the drought-stricken southeastern United States, he organized a hay lift that sent thousands of tons of hay to South Carolina and other southern states. These Iowans are a diverse group of people. They include lifelong Iowa residents, immigrants, young people, family farmers, entrepreneurs, and others who have adopted Iowa as their home. Each of these Iowans saw a need, developed a solution, set a goal, and had the courage to take the risk to make it happen. These Iowans have a positive attitude and faith in what they can accomplish. Each of these Iowans proved that they had what it takes to achieve success. And there are thousands of Iowans just like them all over this great state. During this decade, Iowans have done more than just cope with crisis. We've fought back, refusing to give up or give in. We've kept the dream alive, and we've planted the seeds of opportunity and eliminated barriers to progress. We took action to eliminate the sales and use tax on machinery, equipment, and computers. We no longer assess a personal property tax, and we've provided incentives for job training, research, and community development. Now is the time to work even harder and to do even more. Let me share with you my goals for Iowa's future. I want the world to see Iowa as a leader in agriculture and education. The Iowa I want is a land of new opportunities for all. I want Iowa to be the center for lasers and biotechnology. I want Iowa to be noted as a place where the air is clean, the water is clean, and we have a good quality of life. And I want Iowa to be connected to the markets of growth and opportunity. We already know what the first step is on this pathway to reach our goals. We must eliminate the barriers to growth that continue to exist. We must create an environment in Iowa that encourages and nurtures success. A business climate that does not penalize or overburden the innovators and job creators with excessive taxes, regulations, or high costs of doing business. Today, I recommend to you reasonable legislation which will eliminate the impediments that prevent Iowa from making the final cut in business location decisions. Second, Iowa's work ethic, achievements in education, and quality products have been kept a secret for far too long. We must market and proudly promote Iowa and all that we have to offer. We've increased our state marketing and promotion budget by 7-fold in the last 4 years. I recommend another 7-fold increase in the next 4 years, and we must begin on that this year. The final phase of our economic development plan is to foster innovation and small business development. After all, we know that 80% of the new jobs come from small businesses. Our state must take action to make this land a haven for entrepreneurs and for new opportunities. That's why I'm recommending a 50% increase in the commitment to the Product Development Corporation, increased support for the Community Economic Development Fund, a new Opportunities Grant Program, and funding for small business innovation and research. We cannot stop there. We stand at the threshold of new technological breakthroughs that could change our economy as much as the digital computer and the computer chip changed the industrial age. These technologies were discovered in Iowa by Iowans, but the commercial development occurred in the Silicon Valley in Boston instead of Ames or Grinnell. Our challenge today is to never let that happen again. We must seize the opportunities to make Iowa the center for the next generation of technological development in lasers and biotechnology. Therefore, today, I recommend that we construct a laser research facility at the University of Iowa and a molecular biology building at Iowa State University. The National Science Foundation cites light wave technology, laser optics, as one of the emerging technical fields of the future. And Iowa has the opportunity to be one of the centers of that exciting new development. With the investment of $25 million today, the University of Iowa officials estimate that we can create over 12,000 laser industry jobs in this state in the next decade. Biotechnology also will change the world, giving new tools for crop and livestock production and processing. With a $35 million investment, Iowa State University officials are confident that we will attract over $120 million in research money to the state in the next decade. Now, we are well positioned. We are especially well positioned because the foundation has already been laid with action we took last year for our universities. They are poised to help Iowa lead the nation in moving from the age of electricity to the age of light and biotechnology. A comprehensive economic development plan must include careful stewardship of our environment to maintain a quality of life that is both healthy and enjoyable. I've seen the mountains and the oceans, but none of them compare with the panorama of the Iowa countryside. Nowhere else on this earth is there such a perfect harmony between land and people and nature. We've learned to appreciate the natural heritage that we enjoy, and we must protect it. I'm recommending a 5-year, $37 million program to guard against the greatest environmental threat we face, the pollution of our groundwater. Our action will help farmers to reduce their production costs while protecting the health of families living on the farms and in the cities of our state. In addition, I'm committed to helping farmers to stay on their land and to revitalize the cattle industry in this great state. We must act now to begin selling certified Iowa quality grain to the markets of the world. And finally, I propose a dramatic step for Iowa's future, Iowa Transportation 2000, an investment to build a transportation system that will prepare our state into the 21st century. We must develop a transportation system for Iowa that puts 80% of the people within 10 miles of a 2,000-mile high-standard commercial highway network. This comprehensive plan for transportation includes upgrading the system of 100 general aviation airports, rehabilitating several hundred miles of rail tracks and constructing new rail spurs, developing 400 miles of new hiking and biking trails throughout the state. Now, we know that fuel prices have gone down. In fact, they're 38 cents a gallon lower than last year at this time. We should take 2 cents of that savings this year and 2 cents next year to help fund Iowa Transportation 2000. Let us take action so that all of Iowa can have access to the markets of the world. We are moving ahead in Iowa. We must continue to move ahead. We cannot afford to stand still. If you adopt the program that I've laid out for you today, we will create all kinds of new opportunities in all parts of our state. Last year, we made history with a comprehensive reorganization of state government. We cut out inefficiencies. We consolidated functions into a well-managed state government to serve the people. We eliminated over 1,000 positions without the pain of massive layoffs, and we reduced the number of state agencies from 68 to 24. The smooth transition and reorganization is a tribute to the dedication and effort of our state employees. To them, on behalf of the people of Iowa, I say thank you. Passing reorganization took cooperation between the governor and the General Assembly. We proved that we can work together to achieve a common goal. As a result, Iowans have a more accountable, efficient, and effective state government. Now is again the time to put partisanship aside. Now is again the time to seek innovative answers to our problems. Now is again the time to move Iowa forward. The times require that each of us strive to be the best that we can be. We owe it to ourselves. We owe it to each other. But most important, we owe it to the people of Iowa. Iowa is the America that we grew up believing in. It is faith, hope, and caring for each other. It is freedom bought through hard work and integrity. It is the belief that the future will be better than today. Iowa is a place where the dream still works. Thank you, and God bless you all.
With that, Governor Terry Branstad completed his fourth condition of the state address. In it, he called for some very innovative and surprising things. One of the most surprising, a massive transportation plan he called Iowa Transportation 2000, a 12-year investment program to as he said, revitalize Iowa's economy. One other thing he said today is that the worst is behind us here in Iowa, and he called sort of a battle cry, if you will, for Iowans to get out with their entrepreneurial spirit. In fact, he cited quite a few entrepreneurs by name and what they had done, and called upon other Iowans to do the same. He also had quite a lot to say about economic development and water quality. The legislature, though, of course, is controlled by the Democrats, and the Democrats have an agenda of their own. Right now, we have an opportunity to explore some of those differences with the Democratic leadership, namely Senate Majority Leader Bill Hutchins, and he's waiting at the State House for our questions. Bill, what were your overall impressions of what you heard today?
Well, I was, I guess, somewhat disappointed with the commitment that the governor presented with regards to agriculture. I thought that he was very weak in that area.
You think it was ignored? Is that what you're saying?
Pretty much ignored. If you look at the dollars that he talks about putting into agricultural programs, and it's my opinion that the state of Iowa is going to have to start making a greater commitment in that area, and so that was a weakness. I commend the governor on his ideas with regards to the infrastructure, transportation. Obviously, we must invest in our future if we're going to pull ourselves out of this hole that we're in, and
you would do it. You support that Iowa 2000 transportation plan?
I think it's a great idea. I think it's really kind of a offshoot of some of the things that were debated in the campaign last fall. Probably the question is whether or not Iowans are going to be willing to pay as they go, or would rather bond to make these investments in our infrastructure.
Of course, you're referring there, Senator Hutchins, to his proposal to raise the gas tax by 2 cents a gallon this July 1st, raise it another 2 cents, up to 20 cents a gallon by July 1st, 1988. How do you think that's going to fly?
I think it's going to fly about like a Led Zeppelin in the Senate. The Senate, I think, would be much more in favor of looking at a bonding proposal, and if in fact we can convince the governor to look at an increase in the use tax and sales tax, that use tax revenue could be used to retire those bonds. I think we could make even a greater commitment than what has been proposed by the governor.
Why would you rather go sales tax rather than have the gasoline tax raised? That also is a sales tax. Are you thinking of a broader base in the sales tax?
Well, I'm thinking of what might be more acceptable to Iowans. I've had a number of Iowans contact me with regards to the proposal of raising the sales tax, and then there's been the discussion with regards to raising gas tax. And I've had much more comment in opposition to an increase in the gas tax than I have the sales tax, and so I just think it's a more acceptable way for us to go.
By what I hear you saying, though, you think that we're going to come out of this session with some increase in taxes.
Well, the governor has already proposed an income tax increase with the $170 million in coupling. Now he's talked about raising gas taxes another $60 million, and so we can't have much confidence in any more comments that he might make about no tax increases. So I think if the public is willing to accept the fact that we're going to have some tax increases, then we'll talk about which ones. And I suspect that we in the Democratic Party, a majority, will have some different views on that than what the governor's proposed already.
And of course, we're going to be hearing more about that a week from this Thursday when the governor makes his budget address to this joint session.
Yeah, that's the bottom line is, when we see his total budget, then we'll know what revenues are necessary and whether or not he has proposed adequate revenues to fund the programs that he's planning on us implementing.
You seem to be quite in favor of bonding and borrowing for the future. What do you think about the two proposals for Iowa State University and the University of Iowa for research facilities? There he is proposing bonding.
Well, yes. In fact, the matter is we will probably pass the laser research facility bonding yet this week in the Senate. We had, as a Senate Democrats at least, had talked about this early, as much as 6 weeks ago. We have the legislation drafted. It was signed to a subcommittee in the Senate this morning, and will probably come out of committee this afternoon. With regards to that bonding proposal at Iowa State University, we have never had that proposal placed in front of us by Iowa State University people. So,
are you just as much in favor as you are the laser facility based on what you've heard?
Well, I haven't heard enough about it yet. I don't know just where that was at in the Regent's priorities. It sounds good to me at this point in time. You know, we began last year in making commitments to Iowa State University in biotech research. In fact, went beyond what Governor Branstad had proposed last year. So the interest is there in our caucus, and we're very open to greater investments.
Thank you very much, Senator Hutchins. We'll be hearing more from you as the session goes on.
Thank you.
The Majority Leader of the Iowa Senate, Senator Bill Hutchins. And with that, we end our coverage of the Condition of the State Address. Over the next few months, we'll be monitoring the progress of Governor Branstad's proposals as they encounter the legislative process of which we've just been speaking. We'll be doing that Sunday evenings at 7 on Iowa Press. And also this Friday, join us for coverage of the Governor's inaugural. That'll be live Friday morning at 10, or a rebroadcast 9 o'clock Friday evening. Until then, I'm Dean Borg. Thanks for joining us. Good night.
Major funding for this program was provided by Friends of Iowa Public Television.
Next, witness the miracle of babies as Nova explores the research which discovered how a single cell develops into a complete person. Stay tuned.
The Television Makers, narrated by John Huston, takes a look behind the camera into the working lives of 4 successful television directors. Sitcom director Jack Shea, documentary maker Perry Miller Adato, George Schaefer, director of television films, and Don Michener, director of music and variety programs. They are the messengers of reality, the directors of illusion. They are the Television Makers.
Be watching this evening at 8, right after Nova.
That will be a day not of the white man.
Witness the birth of the civil rights movement on Eyes on the Prize, coming soon on public TV.
That will be the day of man and
Coming
man.
Wednesday, January 21st.